All right, welcome vetters. We are live. We've got our lead dev, Jeremy, here with us. We also have Phyllis, who's going to be supporting us because she is working with the community in a lot of the dApp features as we are rolling out new features on a weekly basis. A lot of you may or may not be familiar with a lot of the new features or any of the features for that matter with the dApp. A lot of new investors will be coming in, are coming in, and we want to be sure that you guys are all clear on how to use it and how it works, especially those of you who are scouts and vetters and voters, and really excited to take part of the compensation. If you can see the screen here on the vetter board, this is going to be improving in terms of the visual components. We're going to be releasing new versions as we develop this out. This is just the starting point, and as I like to share with the community, it is a pretty powerful starting point because it's very rare, if at all, where projects actually launch something that's functional and supportive in the crypto space to help people generate profit and to educate people in the crypto space within weeks
Robin,
after a successful launch.
I want to be super clear. You know, the vetter platform's not telling you what to invest into. It's not making recommendations. Nobody here, the vetters and the scouts, maybe some are, but to our knowledge are not financial advisors and are not providing financial advice. It's simply a crowdsourced research tool. So when Robin referenced investors earlier, this is a tool that investors can use to do deeper research. And you're seeing, people start to report results. Today, this person got a 7x that they reported, and they tipped this person for posting it on the calendar as a thank you. Captain Michael, congratulations on the 8x. And he tipped someone here who had either vetted the project or put it on the calendar. Another 7x, another 3x, lots of 2x's. Now, eventually you'll be able to click and see more of these, but these are the most recent ones. So clearly those that are using it are, having great results using it as a research tool. Just always remember, you're making your own investment decisions. Obviously, there's no recommendations to invest in crypto at all. That's not a recommendation we can make or that the platform can make, but it is a great research tool. And we're going to go over it today. We're going to go over it step by step, feature by feature, starting from the very beginning. That said, should I actually disconnect my wallet, Jeremy, or what were your thoughts? I'm going to hand this over to Jeremy to kind of walk us through it, and then we're going to kind of interject and ask Jeremy questions about features to make sure everybody here understands how to use these.
Awesome. I also want to mention though, guys, to mark your calendars for the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. UTC time, tomorrow, which is December 8th, for a live AMA, which is going to be in the new support group. And I wanted to just give a quick update for those of you who are here live with us and listening to the recording. So Wednesday, December 8th at 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UTC time, we're going to do a live AMA, and you can ask us anything. We're going to be in the new Vetter Support Telegram group for the AMA. If you are not yet in the new Vetter Support Telegram group, please go to the vetter.ai official group with the 16,000 members and visit the pinned post, and you'll find that there is a link to our website where you can watch that video, really quick video, just to inform you on how to avoid getting scammed, because it is really important to us that we do our best to protect people in the community and to build a solid foundation for what we're about to do and how we're expanding here. And I will chat with you guys more tomorrow in the live AMA, but right now we're going to get into the goods. So tomorrow, just mark your calendars. You can ask us anything in the new support group. If you can't find it, go to the big group in Telegram and look in the pin posts for a link, vetter.ai/Telegram. And on the page after you watch that video, you will find how to join the group.
I just want to acknowledge, guys, that we had originally planned to do the AMA in the large Telegram group, but after further consideration, we decided to go ahead and we were comfortable now, have enough established to move it into the smaller Telegram group. So it's more manageable. Over 16,000 people in the larger Telegram group. It can get pretty noisy and difficult to manage with a live open question AMA. So we figured it would be more valuable to those that are following really closely, who will probably ask questions that are more relevant to what's actually happening, so we can get their questions answered in the AMA tomorrow. So do find the smaller support Telegram group. And again, like Robin was just saying, you can get in there with a link that takes you through a process to make sure that you're safe, secure, and know how to engage in social media groups without getting scammed, because that's a major issue in the crypto space. So that link is at the bottom of the larger Telegram group that we were using. All right, so Jeremy, let's go ahead and start walking people through how to use this monster app that helps people do research to find the early ICOs, fair launches, pre-sales that are worth looking at, because there's so many ones out there that aren't. And not to say that everything that ends up on here is worth researching, but there's that color coding system. There's all kinds of things in place that we're going to go over to help you narrow your search and save massive time researching the projects worth looking at. So Jeremy, go ahead and guide us through this, and let's kick it off.
Yeah, thanks you guys. So yeah, I would say to go ahead and disconnect your wallet at first. If we're going to start with the basics, let's start at the very beginning. So on behalf of the development team, which includes a couple of superstar devs in addition to myself, I just want to also mention that we do now have a professional quality assurance manager who's joining our team to help with troubleshooting any of the problems that people come up with, and to help collect any issues that are found. Just know that in order to release this application sooner rather than later and let people start taking advantage of it, we didn't wait for version 2 in order to release it. So I think we've done a pretty good job of making it look good so far, but we have a lot of changes coming and a lot of things planned for you guys. So I might try to touch on a few of those things as we go. Just know that there are quite a few items on the list that we want to add. And as issues come up, of course, there's only so much time you can spend adding the new functionality if you have to resolve things that are found in different places. So I do know that one of the most common issues that people are having is actually connecting their wallet. And one of the reasons is an understanding that in the internet, the websites have gone through multiple generations. It started with websites requiring usernames and passwords, and every site had to track their own usernames and passwords. And that allowed an attack vector for hackers, because they would try to get into those databases. So the next level, Web 2.0, was connecting to sites like Google and Facebook and these APIs that were available that allowed you to use your authentication from those sites as authentication, and this is who I am talking to a website. That's how you would connect to the sites. Web 3.0 is where we're moving now. Web 3.0 is the concept of you have a wallet which is secured by the blockchain, and that wallet, having the ability to log into that wallet, is how you prove your identity to a website now in the Web 3.0 world. So most of the decentralized applications, dApps, if you haven't heard that term before, a decentralized application is just referencing this Web 3.0, the ability to connect to a site and verify who you are by connecting your wallet. So many of the people who are reporting that they can't connect their wallet, they're simply clicking on the link and say, their iPhone, and going to Safari as a browser. Not all browsers, including the iPhone, Safari browser, are set up by default as capable of connecting to a wallet and proving who your identity is by you connecting to your wallet. So I just want to say, initially with version 1, our intention was to really only support desktop users using MetaMask, because that is the most prevalent. It's the most commonly used connection out there. There are some new ones like Wallet Connect and a number of other systems that we are planning to look into adding to the system for the future, which does allow for other people to connect using other methods. They don't necessarily have to connect through a wallet or a browser that has a wallet. So what we mean by having a wallet is, for example, with MetaMask, you're downloading a browser extension. So it's loading some code into your browser to treat your browser, whether it's Chrome or Brave or Firefox, whatever browser you happen to be using on the desktop needs to have that extension in place in order to know how to connect to the blockchain. So when you connect your wallet, it's showing that you are who you say you are because you're connecting to the blockchain. If you're trying to connect using an iPhone or an Android or another device, it is still possible and it is still supported the way that we're set up now, but you have to copy the URL and paste it into the browser inside of your wallet application. So I know many people are using Trust Wallet, and unfortunately, Trust Wallet does not have the approval by the Apple Store to include a browser in their system. There are other browser platforms. I believe Token Pocket, for most people, it's still working. There are solutions, and you can download a MetaMask application on your iPhone, and there's still a browser available inside of there. So if you're having trouble where you hit the connect button and it just does nothing, most likely that's the case, is that you're in a browser that does not know how to talk to your wallet. So if you copy the URL and paste it into the browser inside of the application wallet, then you should be able to connect right up to your system. The other piece
Can you say
of
that last piece again, Jeremy? Because can you say that again?
Sure.
That last
So
piece.
if you're inside a wallet on one of these devices like iPhone or Android, you have to go into that wallet system and open up the browser from within that system, if it exists, and paste in the URL to the Vetter platform inside of the wallet application. And that way it knows how to connect to your wallet. Otherwise, it has no idea. And when you click the button, it will just sit there.
So Jeremy, I'm sorry, could I just interrupt for 1 second? So when someone is in MetaMask, right? And you're talking about the browser, just explain to them where it is, because I know sometimes on their phones that they don't even know where to find the, how do I get to the browser? So if you can just comment on that real quick.
I can comment on it, but I don't know the actual buttons. I use the desktop. I use MetaMask directly. I'm not using the phone apps to connect myself, but usually it's either called browser or it's called dApp. There will be some sort of a link and a quick YouTube search on how to use a browser within whatever wallet system you're using, because there's a lot of them. There's new wallet systems coming out all the time. So, if you're using, again, Trust Wallet on the iPhone, I know doesn't have any browser system within it, but it was called dApp on Token Pocket. I believe on MetaMask it's called browser, but I could be mistaken. So you just have to look for where you're able to enter that URL into whatever wallet app you're using. So again, once we get to the point where we're really supporting mobile users, then we'll have a lot more videos and explanations on the different types of wallets and how to do this. So we're kind of relying upon people to have a little bit of either technical know-how already, because they're going outside of what we're recommending, which is desktop and MetaMask, that they have a little bit of foreknowledge on how to use decentralized applications in their wallet system, or take a little bit of time to research it. So if you look up on YouTube or a Google search, how do I find the browser in such and such application, there should be lots of help there for you. Did you want to say something, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I just think probably we should have a different call for more of the technical support stuff, right? And because there's a lot of people here that know how to connect and stuff, and they're wanting to see all these amazing features, which is a pretty fun topic, and I'm already falling asleep.
Okay.
So
I apologize, but I want to make sure.
It's okay. I think we probably need a separate, super boring, but super important call for some people who need this tech support that are new to using dApps and stuff.
I find it exciting, Jeremy.
Well, we have to get a little bit technical if we want to get into the details of how everything works.
I don't mind that kind of, if it's specific about the features of the dApp, I think that's, the point of today's call. We'll probably have a separate call that's helping people that are just not sure how to use a dApp or how to connect it. They don't know, they're new to the world of DeFi. That's a different kind of, I think a different.
All
kind
right, we'll
Yeah,
schedule
no,
that
that's
very
perfect.
soon.
And I actually said all I was planning on saying about that so far. Anyway.
All right, thank you. All right,
Let's
well, at
move to
least
the
we have
next
a
step.
solution. Yeah.
So go ahead and connect your wallet, Mike, and everybody will see that what happens is it's going to ask him to provide a passcode. So he's already logged into his MetaMask, by the way. If you're not logged into MetaMask, at that point, it would pop up MetaMask, or it would pop up something within your browser to say, hey, you need to log into your wallet in order to connect. Once you are connected.
I just want to point out, if you are using a laptop or a desktop, you'll notice I have a little fox here. This is my wallet. Like this is, it's a plugin. You're going to want to go to YouTube if you don't have this set up. If you have a laptop or a desktop, and enter in, how do I add the MetaMask plugin? So it's right here. I always know that I'm logged in or not logged in. Like it's right there. And yeah, anyway, I'm logged in already to my MetaMask. I know that, but if I click on this, it opens up and there it is. And it says connected right here.
Right.
But anyone that uses smart contracts or dApps would already know this stuff. And again, those that are new to this world, we are going to provide a lot of support stuff for that. But obviously, it's not the first thing that we should be doing. So, but we will have more help for those of you that are new to this world. Anyway, I'm going to, so I clicked on.
Go ahead and click on provide passcode.
Yeah.
And now, by the way, new users, it's still going to say provide passcode, but instead of seeing a reset button on the screen in the middle, it would say set. So if you've never set a passcode before, then you go to set, and then you would put in what passcode that you want. There, you'll check on a box that you agree to the terms if you're going to be able to be paid in Vetter, et cetera. And that will allow you to set it for that first time. And there is gas. It is a transaction. It's a very small amount of gas. And in order to validate that you truly are the owner of that wallet, and to add a code. And what you put in for the passcode can be a PIN number. It could be a password. It could be something that is meaningful to you that you will remember. So that you can show that, yes, you really are, who you say you are when you come into the application. Many people have asked, why do we need anything like that? Why do we have to have a passcode in this system if we're connecting our wallet? And the reason is we're doing something a little bit unique. I've only seen a couple of applications ever that have even attempted it, and none of them have made it completely secure the way that we have. And that is keeping some information in a database. Not everything is on the blockchain. So most decentralized applications, they keep everything inside of the smart contracts. And most of this system is controlled by smart contracts, but there is so much information when it comes to the Oracle, the intuitive Oracle piece that we have. A lot of functionality just would be, you'd have to pay gas for transactions to do anything. So some of the information has to be inside of a database. Well, in order to secure that connection between, there's sort of a triangle that's formed between the smart contract system, which makes it a decentralized application. There is a database system and a server in the back end that we don't want anybody to be able to get your information. We want it to remain secure. And then there's the front end. So all three pieces all talk to each other and validate everything that's going on. So you may be used to, in a lot of websites and applications now, speed is very crucial. You expect things instantaneously. The problem is when you're working with the blockchain and you're working with a system where transactions, you need to wait for them to return information to you, or you need to wait to provide them information and submit a transaction. It can take time for those transactions to go through. The Binance Smart Chain has spoiled us a little bit. If you are working in the Ethereum network, it could take minutes, if not hours in some cases, depending upon how much you're willing to pay for gas to get your transactions through. So many are familiar with decentralized applications and having to wait for a transaction to complete. We're actually pretty impressed with how fast transactions are going in this this network, but there are times where the Binance Smart Chain just gets really bogged down, and there's nothing that we can do about it. And we're doing our best to make sure that, you know, nothing goes wrong inside of our application, because again, all the pieces have to talk to each other. So when you provide this passcode, that's just a further piece to show if somebody else were to try to pretend that they are you and be able to change your information or post as you or vote improperly as you, etc., they can, if they know what they're doing, if they're a good hacker, they could get into the system and pretend that they're you. With the system, with this passcode, it's kind of like a two-factor authentication. It adds the ability to prevent reads and writes from the database with the same level of security as the reads and writes to a smart contract. So I won't go into all of the technical details of that, but just know that there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and that this passcode is absolutely necessary to protect the system, the integrity of the system, and the integrity of your data.
I just want to interject. The reason why that's important is because we placed an extremely high priority, and this was just one example, this passcode and making sure that somebody can't hack in, pretend they're you and a bunch of other people and improperly vote on projects, maybe because they want to promote those projects or they want to, you know, create false information on the platform for whatever reason. The efficacy, the integrity of the data on the platform is extremely important, because we're dead serious about this being like one of the top research tools in the industry. And, you know, and again, what we're creating right now is just the beginning of how we're building that. But the integrity of the data on this, you know, Vetter platform is paramount. So that's why the passcode's there. I just want to make sure everyone understood that. It's to protect the integrity of the data. So when you see the color coding, when you're relying on information that you're seeing here, when somebody is said to have voted a certain way, that actually happened and it wasn't hacked by somebody who, you know, is trying to manipulate the data.
Great, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, so I clicked on that button, I connected my wallet. I had already entered in set a passcode before. So as Jeremy was saying, this says that if it was your first time doing it, this would say set, and you'd be setting your passcode. I already did that in the past. So I'm just entering my passcode to say, yes, this is me. Can I go ahead and click provide as the next step?
Go ahead and click provide.
So I'm just letting the system know, yes, this is me. I'm not a hacker pretending to be me. So when I vote and stuff, it knows it's legitimate.
One question on that, Jeremy, do you suggest that if I were to leave my computer that I click disconnect, or does that not matter?
Yeah, I mean, anytime that you're dealing with a secure access site, you're better off logging out when you're not using it. It's not real hard to put that passcode back in when you connect again later. And
Okay.
you should have your MetaMask set up to automatically disconnect. And if that happens, if your MetaMask wallet or whatever wallet system you're using disconnects, then you will see the website will like reset and it'll go back to the state where the wallet is disconnected as well.
We need to be careful though, because we have people that are brand new to all of this, and even maybe somebody not brand new might have misinterpreted Robin's question and your answer to mean that there was an extra security risk that there isn't. So I just want to clarify, if I connect like I just did and I go get dinner and I leave my laptop here and I don't click disconnect, you're not at risk, guys, of having someone hack into your MetaMask and run off with your crypto. Like, there are no security risks like that. So Jeremy, just to be
yeah, that is absolutely correct. The only risk you have is if somebody else were to come onto your machine where you're already logged in and they can do something as you, or
right, exactly,
or send transactions as you because your wallet is in a connected state. So
yeah,
okay, cool.
It does not make a vulnerability. You're absolutely.
I don't have that risk here, so I just want to be clear. I never click disconnect because I'm not afraid that, you know, somebody's going to come onto my computer while I'm having dinner and vote on my behalf incorrectly.
Little kitty cat might. Okay.
I just want
Thank
people
you.
to understand the security risk isn't that, there isn't a security risk in any serious way like that.
Right. That's true.
Cool. Good to know.
All right. So now the next thing to know is everything that happens within the application is based upon what tier you are. So we might as well talk about that real quick and what the tier structures mean.
Right.
So because you have your wallet connected to the system, it knows how much better token you're holding in that wallet. So the amount of Vetter that you're holding will completely dictate what functions and processes you can actually interact with on the system. So because this particular wallet has Vetter token in it, you can see colors on the dashboard, and you can see colors when we get to the calendar, etc. So I just want to let you know that if you're at tier 0, which means you do not have enough tokens for tier 1, the way that the system will work is completely different than somebody who does have tokens. So just know that.
Can we pause there really quick? And I'm going to actually disconnect my wallet so they see what tier 0 would look like.
Sure.
So I just wanted to mention, so you notice these colors now, these are just all blue right here in this little calendar section, because when I was connected, and these are actually legitimate colors representing like how many people at the highest rank there are on a particular day, or the second highest rank, which is green. And we may soon upgrade this to be able to actually look at some of this data here. We haven't decided where the priority is for that particular one, but just know that this is real data. When I can't disconnect my wallet till after I've entered my code, I see, right? So
you can just refresh the page.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I just want to disconnect and show you again. So this is no longer showing that data. Now, Jeremy and I discussed perhaps tier 0 will see their color coding here since they can't access the information. It would give us an opportunity to kind of advertise what the color coding is, and perhaps that would pique their interest to want to, buy Vetter and hold enough Vetter to get to the higher tiers so they could access that information. Right now, when they're all the color blue, it kind of gives me less of an opportunity from a marketing perspective to describe, the value of the color coding. So we may kind of in tier 0 actually show that color coding in the future, but they won't be able to access the details of those projects without being at a higher tier. The other thing I wanted to show here at tier 0, right now you see the scout rank, the Vetter rank, the voter rank, and all this information, which we'll get into what that is in a little bit. Just know that pretty soon, and this is one of the key features we want ready, before we roll this out in a big way to the world, this is going to be a video. So if somebody were to land on this, they just got the link to this dApp, they landed on here, they weren't connected to their wallet, they didn't have any Vetter, they didn't really know what was going on. This would be a video that they could play to immediately understand the value of what they have here in their hands. So that's coming. And then these other little things, we can change for tier 0 what's being displayed. I actually like the gains and tips because the video can reference that and really, drive home the value of the platform in terms of people using it to research, projects that are giving them a 7x or an 8x, and it can talk about the tipping system for those that are contributing to the platform. Team stats can also the video can reference and kind of engage people with that. But just know that with tier 0, we'll play around with what data is here in order to, excite new visitors and help them quickly understand the value of what they've stumbled upon, so that they can quickly see why they would want to get some Vetter, hold some Vetter, and access the higher tiers. I'm going to go ahead and connect my wallet now and move forward.
The other thing I'll mention is from a technical standpoint, there is a difference between an unconnected wallet tier 0 and a connected wallet tier 0. So when we get to seeing the calendar, for example, the search capabilities, the filtering capabilities do apply to somebody who has connected their wallet. But you would not see all of those if your wallet is disconnected. But if you connect your wallet in your tier 0, you can still use some of those search features, not all of them. Some of them only show up when you get to a certain tier, to kind of play around a little bit and see the counts of what's available for somebody who has Vetter to be able to research from the platform.
Let me zoom in on that for a second. You said it, but I just want to make sure, because some people might really be wondering, why would you show these search features if they can't actually open these projects up and access the data at tier 0? And the reason why we want to show some of these tier search features at tier 0 is so that a new visitor can come here and start playing with the tool and just see how advanced it is at helping them narrow their searches, which again will help to excite them with the prospect of using the full features of the tool to buy Vetter and get to tier 3. So we're letting them play with it, even though at tier 0, they won't have access to the data. They got to upgrade to the higher tier to do that, but they'll get to see how it works better at tier 0. So that's the point of that.
The other thing, if you stay there and open one of those projects, since we're talking about the tiers, the other thing that'll happen, just so everybody knows, like from the same standpoint, we'll be able to, for anybody who can't see these details on a particular project, we will also have, marketing videos available that talk about why it's better to have more better tokens in order to get to another tier, because this information will now become available to you. So at tier 1, they can see this information. At tier 2, when they click on the vetter, they can actually see the vetter's information. And if they don't have enough for tier 2, then we can provide more information about, what they're missing out on. So
That's great. Yeah.
just wanted to mention that since we're talking about the tiers.
And since we're here, maybe it's worth mentioning that we're also moving towards being able to have this be a link that can be promoted. So let's say an influencer or somebody in our community posts a project, they would actually be able to direct people. This will be a unique link later that they could direct people to. And that's where that really will come in handy, because if somebody doesn't use Vetter yet and they land here to learn about a particular project somebody just posted to the calendar that they're sharing, what Jeremy's saying will come in real handy, because at that point, if they haven't connected their wallet, or if they have and they don't have enough Vetter in there, there'll be promotional videos here explaining, hey, if you upgrade to this higher tier, here's all this information you're going to see, and here's why this is valuable. So that's going to have a big impact on the viral growth of Vetter when that's initiated, when people can direct people to a direct link, and there's promotional videos there for those that can't access the information yet.
So did you also want to mention, Mike, that the idea that some people have asked, will those tiers, how many Vetter tokens you need, ever change?
Well, I mean, we can change it whenever we want, right? So yeah, I mean, it's just the priority right now is, to make sure that the people in the community already who want to use the dApp understand how, which is the purpose of today. And we have a lot more to do in that aim, like the promotional videos and stuff. People that land here knowing right away what the value of it is, because there's so much built into it, which is what we're going over today. But, once all that's in place, and once we have this like just fine tuned where we want it, then we can start to think about, do we want to try testing a lower price point for tier 1, or a higher price point for tier 4, or a lower price point for tier 3? We can change that at any time. I'm real happy with where it's set at right now. I think tier 1 is set really, really inexpensively. And if anyone really understands, and hopefully by the end of today's session, you guys all will, how valuable this dApp is, and the fact that people don't even have to pay to use it. I mean, they just got to hold tokens. It's pretty remarkable what the cost is even right now. But yeah, if the price of Vetter goes really, really high or whatever, we can adjust what it costs, or how much Vetter somebody has to hold to access different tiers.
Right. Okay. So the next thing to kind of talk about is, so what do you get at the different tiers? So at tier 1, you get access to the scout details, the scout information. And I should say, even at tier 0, you have the ability to post projects. So that add project button, once you've connected your wallet, you'll have the ability to click on add project, and you'll be able to post projects as unranked. So I'll leave the discussion of ranked and unranked for a minute, just to know that at tier 0 and at tier 1, you have the ability to post projects to this calendar. But tier 1 is able to then see the details of what that poster provided as far as the information about the project.
Yeah, like, at what point do you want to go into all the details that are provided about a project?
Let's come back to that.
Okay.
I just want to kind of go through the tiers.
Yeah.
So they can see this information that the scout has provided. Once you get to tier 2, you can see the information that any of the 1 or more vetters have provided. And then when you get to tier 3 is where you start seeing color coding on this calendar. And then tier 4 is a whole nother level with features that we really haven't implemented yet. So we won't talk much about tier 4 at the moment, but I just want to tell you, if you're not seeing colors on the calendar, that means that you're not at tier 3. And if you are at tier 3, you start seeing the colors. And if you are not seeing vetter details, then you might not be at tier 2. Those are kind of the distinguishing features for the tiers.
I just wanted to show them the vetter details are right here. If it's been vetted, not everything's been vetted. Vetted means there's additional information provided. We'll go into more detail on that, but just so people could follow what you just said, Jeremy, the vetted information's down here. And he's just saying, if you're at tier 1, you wouldn't see the vetted information, but you'd see that vetted information is available. And eventually there'll be a video here explaining all of that, and with an encouragement for them to upgrade to tier 2 so they can access that additional vetter information. So they would know in tier 1 that there is vetted information, but they wouldn't be able to access it unless they're at tier 2 or higher. And the vetted information, of course, is just more detailed information. And we're going to continue working with our vetters quite extensively to continually improve the type of information they share, including using different tools that the industry is evolving and developing to be able to check contracts and see if a project's safe and all kinds of things.
So to kind of round out the remainder of what you can do at the different tiers, you do have to be at tier 3 in order to vote. And you also have to be at tier 3 in order to post ranked projects, which I'll come back to. And then you have to be at tier 3 in order to be a vetter. There is an additional criteria for a vetter. They have to be part of the Discord channel. I think most people know that at this point. But if you don't see the option to be able to vet projects, then most likely you're not set up in the system as a vetter.
Yeah, and he mentioned voting. Jeremy just mentioned voting. For those that don't know, if you're at tier 3, you have the option of getting paid to vote if a project that has launched was successful or not. And that helps inform the system on which scouts are posting projects that are, doing really well versus maybe ones that aren't doing well.
Correct. So if we go back to the dashboard, that kind of brings us to, so we talked about who can do scouting, who can do vetting, and who can do voting. So those 3 tabs are in reference to, if you're able to do those activities, then, here's how much better you have the ability to make. So the available category, you'll see under the scout, it says available has 2 different numbers. The number on the left is for ranked posts. The number on the right is for unranked posts. So I've brought up this concept of ranked versus unranked a number of times. So I might as well just describe that right now. The idea behind being able to post a project as ranked is saying basically that you're lending your credibility to that project. You're willing to have people vote on you. And when they vote on you, it affects your score, it affects your ranking. So we'll get into what the different ranked levels are, what the different color levels are, etc. Just understand that ranked versus unranked stands for the idea that if you post a project as ranked, or if somebody else does, that means that they're willing to not only receive tips if it goes well, but they're willing to receive downvotes if for whatever reason they brought a project to the platform that ended up being a rug pull or ended up having major problems and people were not able to make money on it. So we can get more into the details of appropriate voting later, but the general idea is for a given duration, people can either give a positive vote or a negative vote saying that that project was successful. So voting on projects doesn't happen until after they're launched. I know that's a lot of people's questions as well. Why can't I vote on a project? It has to be launched before you can actually vote on it, because the purpose of the voting is to say whether the project was able to make somebody money in a particular time frame or not.
We're probably going to come back to that in more detail later, right, today?
Correct.
Yeah.
So just so you know, the available numbers, the one on the left is what is available for posting ranked posts. The one on the right is if we were to ever pay people to post unranked posts, which says, hey, I want to let the community know about this project. And if you're at tier 0 and you post a project, it's automatically going to be unranked. You cannot be ranked until you're at least tier 3. So some of those projects are getting listed as unranked just because the person who's posting them, it's not that they don't want to lend their credibility to it, it's that they literally can't because they're not at the right tier yet. So we also created a concept of assuming posts, which says if there's an unranked post, a scout can come out and assume the role of ranking that post, saying, hey, I am going to lend my credibility to it. I'm willing to be voted on. I've looked into this project and I think it's going to be something, people could potentially make money in, et cetera. So
Jeremy, I'm just going to repeat a couple key things here for those in the back of the room or those in the front of the room like me that need things repeated. So this number here represents how much you'll get paid at the rank you're at. And this yellow means you're a beginner, so it's not very much yet, but it goes up as your rank goes up. So 50 vetter is what that means for posting at this rank of a beginner if you're ranked, meaning you're willing to risk your reputation, your rank reputation. I didn't mean to click on that. It's not supposed to do that, by the way. We'll address that later. So this 50 vetter is what you would get paid if you were at the rank of yellow, which is a beginner, for posting a project if you're ranked. If you're posting it as a rank, you're going to risk your rank reputation on it. Zero vetter represents what you get paid if you're posting a project as unranked. You're not willing to risk your reputation on it. You're like, I don't know, I just want to let the community know about it. And like Jeremy was saying, we may later pay for those, but we just haven't needed to. Unranked posts probably, aren't the most important posts, but we want to give people the ability to let us know about them, to be able to promote projects they're excited about, to let us know about those projects. But right now we're not paying for unranked posts, just ranked posts. But if we did, that number would show it here. And remember, that's just, it's different for each color ranking. As you move up the rankings, we do pay more for ranked posts.
And by the way, on that note, as far as knowing what the different colors are and what the different pay levels are, when we adjust this area of the page, we're going to have a lot more information about, color coding, as well as how much better can be earned at the different ranks. So all it's showing right now is at the rank of 0, a beginner level, what would be paid out. So,
by the way, this should say this, right? Or actually should say 0, I think. Not sure.
Until you've posted any, it would be, yeah.
Right. I might have posted some. I'm not sure. So
do you want to talk about those ranks right now and the colors, or do we want to?
Yeah, I'll let you go ahead and continue. I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that the amount that it's showing that you're available to get paid is based on your rank. And yeah, it's going to be pay more if you move up the ranks.
So a quick explanation of the rank and colors, the points and colors, and how that works. A new person who comes into the system is going to see 0 points in all 3 categories, right? So if we're talking about scout rank, the very first time they post anything, it's going to bump their score to the default of 50 points. 50 points is saying, we don't know whether this person is a good poster or a bad poster, so their rank goes right in the middle at 50 points. They're going to be at yellow until they've posted at least 5 times. So even if their score starts changing, say they only post 1 or 2 projects and they haven't posted any more since, as those projects are released and they start getting voted on, those votes can apply to their number of points, and the points could go from 0 to 100, but it doesn't affect how much you're going to get paid. You're still going to be yellow until you've posted at least 5 posts. Once you've posted 5 posts, then whatever your rank, whatever your points are, will determine what color you are, and therefore how much you get paid moving forward for doing the same activity. So anywhere from 0 to 39, or I'm sorry, 0 to 38 points is red. That means that they had a number of negative votes because they start at 50. So if they get down to 38 points, that means that they've been posting projects that have not been successful. So the down votes will lower their score as that time goes on. That would be instead of yellow, it would show as red. If they're between 39 and 57 points, then it will be beige. So beige is like the default, the average, we don't really know if this person posts good projects or not yet. So as long as your points are within that range, you're going to be beige. Once you get over 58 points, it will turn green, and the amount that you get paid goes up appropriately. And then once you get to 81 points, it will turn purple. So those are the current levels that can be adjusted, but it will show on this dashboard what exactly those numbers are, so everybody can know at this time, what do I need to get in order to get to the next rank, in order to be able to be paid a higher amount, and then also to be able to participate in royalties once their scouter rank gets up to green. So once you get enough votes, so again, you do not get points for posting. I know that's been a common confusion because voting works differently. But with scouting and vetting, you do not get points for posting. That initial post that sets you up as somebody who has ever posted in our system bumps your points to 50 points. And from that point on, the only way your points will move is based upon voting on your project that you posted as a ranked poster or the assumptor.
Thanks for clearing that up, Jeremy, because that is like the number one question that everybody asks. Like, why didn't I get paid? I just posted something. So what you're saying is the first post, it defaults to 50, but after that, it's based on the voting for the particular project.
Correct. That is the only way it will move, is based upon any votes that are received on those projects once they are launched.
And again, just want to keep getting people to refer back to why that would be. And then things will really start to make sense. Like if somebody could just come here and post as a vetter a whole bunch of crap, do a really poor job, and get points, then the ranking system and the points would be absolutely meaningless. So the points are supposed to reflect how good of a job or how good of content it is that they're sharing. How valuable is it for me as an investor who's going to be paying attention to their content? Because time is money, and time is time. It's really valuable. And so when I come to the platform, and I'm looking at this calendar and I see somebody's ranked at purple, that should mean something about the efficacy and the integrity of the data I'm going to find when I go there. And it doesn't mean that 100% of the time it's going to be like, a 100x or anything like that. In fact, if we're talking about a vetter, it's really just more about how well of a good of a job did they do of sharing really good information that I find valuable. But I just, if it's a scout, it's going to be based on how well did the voting is going to indicate, and the color coding is going to indicate how well did that project do, or or not do. But the color coding means something. It represents the efficacy, the effectiveness of the data being shared. Wrong screen. So I just want to point that out, that if you think about why things are set up the way they are, it's always going to lean towards making sure that the integrity of the data is good, so that if an investor's coming here, it's useful. If we just gave points for people posting, that wouldn't be a very useful indication of whether I should pay attention to their posts. It's based on the votes, the success or failure or down votes that are made on the posts.
Yep. So the next thing I would point out at this point is, if you look either in the upper right corner at your particular color coding, or if you look in the team stats area, you can see a bunch of differences there for the color coding. I just quickly explain what those mean now that we kind of know that it's based upon voting. So the upper left third, which in that case of chipped up is yellow, means that chipped up has not posted more than has not vetted 5 projects yet. So the upper left is the vetting color. The upper right is the scout color. And that represents what chipped up is currently getting paid as a scout. And I'll come to the bars in a second. The bottom is for the voting color. So anybody who's looking at somebody else's profile can get a quick glance at, how active are they in the system, and have they been voted on for the actions that they've taken. So again, at a quick glance, the upper left is their vetter score color, their rank. The upper right is for the scouting, the posting projects, and the bottom is for voting. Now, the 4 bars that are on there, we'll talk a little bit more about those when we get into the voting and how there are different durations that you can vote when it comes to a scouting post. So that doesn't really apply to the vetter rank, and it doesn't really apply to the voter rank. The votes apply directly to their main rank. When it comes to scouting, what we want to be able to do is determine based upon a certain time duration. So the durations, by the way, the short term is within the first 24 hours. The medium term, which is the second bar.
I'm going to go to the calendar because this is connected. As you're saying that, I'm going to go it's connected to the Oracle, right? So
Correct.
24 hours. Go ahead. I just want to make sure people know that what you're talking about right now, those color coding on the bars is connected to when you go to this Oracle and use this feature to see how somebody is ranked as a scout for projects. Do they do well or not do well within a certain time frame?
Right. So where you're at right now, it shows the check mark next to Oracle. That means that all of the colors on this calendar are based upon the level that that person is currently getting paid at.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with the success or failure of projects in different durations. Those 4 barred colors represent those 4 other options. 24 hours.
Well, Jeremy, that just to be clear, that for me as well, that if it's clicked on Oracle, these colors do have to do with the success or failure of their project, historical track record of their projects in general, overall, just not specific to a time frame, correct?
Right. It's their current color ranking.
Right, which does indicate success or failure track record historically based on votes overall.
Correct.
Yeah, I just want to make sure people knew that it was connected to that historical track record.
So those 4 options, at 24 hours is the short term, 7 days is medium term, 30 days is long term, and then the overall is kind of when you get beyond there, when we start talking about the token's been out for a while, that's the overall category. And when people are voting, they get to pick one of those durations. So they're saying, I believe that this project was successful in that 24-hour period. So the colors in those 4 bars equate to those 4 different duration categories. So you'll notice, for example, on Max Defied, the one below, and on John A, there's actually green in that first bar. That means that they've had enough projects voted on now in the 24-hour period to know that they're successfully picking projects in a 24-hour period that have made people money.
Yeah, and
So
why would that be important, right? Like some people might be wondering, why is that so important? Because maybe you like projects that when you get into a pre-sale or a private sale or fair launch, you want a quick return. And so when you go, when you see somebody has a green or a purple ranking in this bar, you know that for whatever reason, whether they're doing it on purpose or subconsciously, they're picking projects consistently that are doing really well within that first 24 hours. So this informs you really fast who you want to follow, who you want to pay attention to. And then just again, real fast, Jeremy, just to make sure they see how this connects. And then when you're on this calendar, you can go to the Oracle if you're someone who wants to see a quick return in the first 24 hours. And let's say, I'm just going to say rank purple, because that's the highest rank. And I'm going to say 24 hours. That's going to show that, hey, these projects, well, there actually aren't any purples yet because we just launched this thing. There hasn't been enough time, but there's greens. These are all projects that were posted by somebody that has that historic track record of their projects doing really well in the first 24 hours. Now they might bomb after that. In fact, you might see like someone do really well in the first 24 hours, but the same person might have a lower score, a lower rank for 7 days because maybe those projects bomb after that. But some people are looking for those kinds of projects that do really well in the first 24 hours, and they don't care what happens after that. Others are looking for other things. So we'll talk about these other bars.
yeah, so I just wanted to mention that it's going to take some time before those other 3 bars really change, because you have to get past that time frame, right? So with this just being out for, just barely over a month, a number of those projects have not been voted on in those particular durations yet. So over time, that will continue to get to be better and better and better information, because their track record will show through on the different categories. So if you get to the point where, say, that third bar, which represents the 30 days, starts turning green or purple, then you can, be fairly confident that, at least in the past, they have picked projects that whether they did well in the early first few days or weeks, at least long term, they were successful. And, they're good at picking those types of projects where you don't have to stress about getting in, getting out quick. You might be able to hold it for a while and still do well.
So
but if you're looking for that get in, get out quick, then you're going to be looking for somebody that has the color in that first bar.
So again, that's connected to this intuitive oracle. And as Jeremy's saying, not enough time has gone by for there to be enough votes yet for the second, third, and fourth bar to show up. But pretty soon, when there's more voting coming in over those longer durations, you'd be able to pick green or purple. That's a pretty high rank. Let's say purple, and come over here to the oracle and say, show me people that are picking projects that are doing really good after 30 days. Maybe they don't do good in the first 24 hours. They may or may not do good in the first 7 days. But historically, they're posting projects that are consistently doing outstanding and, have been getting a good return for people in the first 30 days. If that's the kind of investment preference you have that fits with your personality and style, then you would come here. Now, again, there aren't any yet because not enough time has passed by. We haven't been open long enough for 30-day votes to have happened, but you're going to be able to do that pretty soon. Right now, we've got as far as some people hitting green within a 24-hour period. We've got enough votes for that to happen. And of course, overall, if we just click Oracle, there's plenty of purple and greens that just whatever kind of vote they got, whether it was 24-hour period, 7-day period, 30-day period, whatever, you do get this color coding here. So, but as time goes by, those other bars are going to fill in, and that connects to the intuitive oracle for those other time frames.
So Mike, so if someone wants to maximize their voting, and they have a project, they literally, obviously, if you do a trade, you're not going to just, look at it one time, right? So theoretically, somebody can go back to that trade and it may have done good in 24 hours, so they can vote on that 24 hours. But then again, if it's still doing good in 7 days, they can vote again. Is that correct?
100%. And they can get paid for that vote,
Correct. So they can maximize their votes
totally
by checking, how that trade is actually doing. Okay.
Exactly. And then after 30 days, if they want to go back and they could vote on it again and help tick another vote for them if it was still successful after 30 days. And if it wasn't successful after 30 days, you're not penalizing the scout, for saying it wasn't successful after 30 days. Like, let's say it bombed or rug pulled after 30 days. You might have voted it was successful in 24 hours. You might have voted it was successful at 7 days. But after the 31st day, if it rug pulls, you're doing everyone a disservice if you see that and don't bother to indicate that it was a failure after 31 days. That won't penalize the scout when people are searching for the success track record, in 24 hours. It was still successful in 24 hours. That's all that matters to some people. But if someone's looking to see, who's doing well at posting projects after 31 days, you're going to want to mention that one didn't do well. So that gets accounted for that. That's how we have a really high efficacy system. So the answer is yes, Phyllis, you want to come back. Absolutely. And you get paid for those additional votes. And it helps the system be more and more accurate and more valuable for future investors using this as a research tool.
And we do have plans for the future to have that information provided to you in your, probably in your profile, where it'll show past projects that you have voted on in case you want to know, hey, I want to go back and now update and add another vote for a different time period. So
that's a great idea, because I just wrote that down to say something to you about.
There's all kinds of things like that are coming in this application, but it's going to take time to get them all implemented, of course.
I want to reiterate too, tutorials and everything that explains everything that we're talking about here obviously it's a very cumbersome process right now for us to go through it in the way that we are, as opposed to soon you'll see a little tutorial here that you just click on. It would explain in a really polished way what this is and what this is and what the points are, and everything we're explaining. It's going to engage people, it's going to excite people, it's going to draw them in and lead them to fully understand what each feature does. So it's not a laborious process like today. So
And
obviously,
we'll do it into bite sizes. So that way it's really
those
fast.
of you who are here today, you're here early, who get, there's lots of advantages to getting to be one of the first pioneers of using a tool that can scale and have the impact that this has. But we are very much aware that most people, the consumer market, the consumer investor, the average person who later is going to love this tool, right now wouldn't have a clue how to use it yet or why they'd want to. That's what we're working up towards. And today is just the first step at getting you guys who do want to be pioneers and get rewarded for being pioneers to be able to use it first. But obviously all those simple tutorials that engage people, that excite people, will all be built into this. That explains everything that we're explaining today in bite sizes, as Robin says.
So the last thing to mention about how your scout rank is affected is, we already said that you'll go to 50 after you post your first one, and then it won't change again until votes are done on those posts. Each individual post has a cap as to how much it will affect your score, which is currently 5 points. So even if you had 1,000 votes on that one particular project, which is awesome, it's a great project, that means it was successful, and hopefully some tips came along with all those many votes, but you're not going to have more than a 5-point effect from any given project on your score. And there is a weighting to the votes as well. We want to encourage having projects that are good long term, so there's a little bit more weight, and we believe that there's going to be, until we have some more tools for people to go back and remember to vote on projects after 30 days, et cetera, there might be less of those 30-day votes. So there's a weighting to the short term is weighted 1 point, medium term is 2 points, the long term is 3 points, and the overall duration is 4 points. So a few votes on the overall duration will quickly get you to that cap, but it's also meant as a way to be able to counteract potential problems in the beginning of a project. So let's say, you had, 100 points downvoted in the short term because there was no way anybody could have made any money in the first 30 days, or I'm sorry, the first 24 hours of the project. And then we get it to 7 days out, and it's starting to look like this project, is recovering from some of the issues that they had. And now we're starting to get a few positive and a few negative votes. That, it is possible that people were able to make money in the 7 days. And when we get 30 days out, all of a sudden, there's a huge, rise in the value of that particular project's token. And now people want to let everybody know that, hey, this person did pick a successful project in a 30-day time period or an overall time period. The weighting of those additional votes will help you overcome, say, that negative 100 points from that first horrible launch that they had. It doesn't take as many votes to get back to the point where, because remember, it's a 5-point cap, that means negative or positive. So if your total votes with those weightings add up to, more than 5 negative points, it's only going to affect your score by 5 points. And that's the other reason Mike mentioned that it doesn't really hurt anything if you want to go in and say, during a given time period, the project was not successful, and then come back and vote on it later during a different time period and say that it was successful. They will, kind of weight each other out and give a better indicator that that person is good at picking short-term versus long-term projects. So I just wanted to mention that, if you're getting all kinds of votes and you had a really great project, that doesn't mean you're just going to skyrocket to 100 points. The most you can get from one project is a bump of 5 points.
And Jeremy, I just want to point out for those that aren't able to follow you verbally on how the points work towards the impact on the ranking. We have all of this written out, because there's a different ranking and point system. and how you advance, you know, for voting on scout posts and then voting on vetter posts and voting, or sorry, and then when you're posting as a scout and you're posting as a vetter. I just wanted to point out, we're going to post all of this written explanation of how the ranking and points work towards your ranking score in the Telegram group. And I just want to point out that pretty soon you'd be able to come here and have access to all this information given to you in a really easy to absorb, you know, way where you'd be able to understand the point system and everything. We're going to build all of that in.
Right. And eventually that see full stats button will become active, and we'll have a lot of information that shows for a given project how many of those votes helped you or hurt your score. So
Okay.
that's coming. I just want to point that out because some people believe that the votes are not counting towards them. And in actuality, you know, they are. You want to have quite a few votes in any given time period. Say you are aiming to find really good projects in the first 24 hours and you're not the type of scout who cares as much about the long term. You want to be able to make the quick profits, and you know, those are the projects that you kind of gravitate towards. If you have enough votes in that short term, then even though the longer terms are weighted more, you know, they're not going to necessarily pull your score to a negative as easily. So even though you only have a 5-point cap, it is good to have. It's actually tracking all those other votes. They're just not affecting your score, is the point. So moving on to the vetter rank. The vetter rank actually works almost identically to the scouter rank. Your first vetting will get you to 50 points. From there, you only score or lose points based upon votes. The only difference is when somebody is voting on the vetter information on the vetter tab. And actually, can you switch and open up one of the projects that has a vetter on it?
Yeah.
It might be a little bit more clear.
Yeah, and just so that people know what I'm doing, I'm going to advance, and I want to see projects that are already vetted, because that's what Jeremy just asked me to take a look at. And so these now will all be vetted. And so right here it says vetter. I click on that. As long as you're at tier 2 or above, you would be able to access that information.
So now the one thing that I wanted to explain there is at the top, you can see the buttons for tipping and voting, right? Notice that if you click on the scout on the top, at that point, when you vote, you're voting on the project and whether it was successful or not. And if you click on that real quick, Mike, it'll show that there are durations. So you can see there's choose a duration. Was it profitable in the time frame or not? And then of course you can tip or show your gains, right? So we can get into the details of what's on the page later, but you'll notice that here it shows the duration. If you go to the vetter tab and you click on vote now, there is no duration. So it is possible to vote on a scout as well as vote on the vetter. And I wanted to point that out, and you get paid separately. You can do 5 votes on scout projects and 5 votes on vetter projects per day, per 24-hour time period. So I just wanted to show that there's a difference, because I know many have mentioned that as a scout, they're not getting votes. So I just want to encourage people, and we've actually encouraged them in terms of monetarily as well, to go back and vote on scouts for the different durations.
I just wanted to point out, since we just switched screens in the last minute, Dr. X just reported getting a 4X and thanked John A and gave him a 100 vetter tip. I mean, this thing's working all the time, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, so what you're referring to there, Jeremy, has to do with also here, right? That you get paid at this rank, you get paid 500 vetter, or no,
It's actually referring to the voting category.
That would be the voting one. Okay, you kind of jumped ahead there on me.
So on the left-hand side, it shows how much you can make by voting on scouts. And on the right-hand side, it shows how much you can make by voting on vetters.
Yeah.
So now the difference when you're voting on a vetter is you're voting on whether the information they provided was really helpful in your research or not.
Yeah.
So if they just don't provide very many details, then feel free to downvote them. If they're providing additional information on top of, you know, even what another vetter has provided, it's okay to have 3 vetters on a project, and you could actually go and vote on all 3 of them and say that they all helped you or didn't help you. So the goal is that each vetter might have a different spin when they look at that project and they find the details, their summary, their contract studies, their notes from the AMA. Maybe one of them listened to the AMA and somebody else didn't. So if they're providing useful information that helps you in your decision-making process, then feel free to let them know that. And that's the point of voting. Whereas when you're voting on a scout, it's really about, was that project able to make you money in the time frame that you're voting on?
Or if you didn't participate in it, when you look at the graph, is it obvious that no question somebody could have made money on it? If in doubt, or if you're kind of new to this and you're not sure, you know, if you didn't participate in it, you probably shouldn't vote on it unless you're really confident. Sometimes it's really obvious, and we'll do more trainings on that for those that want to vote on scout projects that didn't participate in it. But again, super easy to vote on a scout project if you did participate in it, if you made money. If you made money, you know, in the first 24 hours, and that would be a success for you. So super easy then. But even if you did not participate in a scout project, if it's, you know, really easy to see that it was a successful project, then you can vote on that as well.
So just to follow up on what you just said, if you made money, then you want to show your gain, but you don't vote negatively just because you didn't make money if other people could make money.
Right.
So the vote is positive or negative based upon whether that project was successful. You didn't have to participate in it, like Mike said. You could just be going out looking at the charts and saying, you know what, I don't see how somebody couldn't have made money. That looks like a successful project in that duration. And you get paid for voting as such. If you did participate in it, that's where, you know, if you made money, then show your gains and potentially tip the person for putting it on the calendar.
We do want to point out, we might get to this in a second, I just want to mention, if you are voting very poorly because you just don't know what's going on, could happen. Other people may come in and downvote your voting. And that's, you know, if you're just not getting it, maybe you're new, you don't understand yet. And again, by the way, congratulations, somebody else just got a 4X. Pretty cool, since we were last here. You know, here in the voting rank, your voting score is going to go down if you're voting incorrectly. So if you're still kind of fuzzy on that, if you're new, you're not sure how to vote on a scout project, you know, you might want to wait for more training on that. But many of you, it's going to be obvious to you if a project was successful or not, and certainly can vote. Just know that there's integrity built into the voting rank as well, so that if people are voting incorrectly, they won't be rewarded for doing that. And they could even be blocked if they're consistently voting very, very poorly. You would be notified before that were to ever happen, or it would have to be something really blatant and obvious if people are trying to take advantage of the system. So don't worry about it. If you're still learning and you're new, feel free to engage with the process. It will naturally, you know, work and favor those that are using it properly. And those that are learning, it's okay, because it's the overall crowd voting mechanism that creates the result. So one person voting incorrectly here and there while they're learning isn't going to hurt anything.
I do want to say that those who do get it, because there are a lot of you guys in the community who absolutely do get it, even if you're not generating compensation right now as a participant, but you're utilizing the platform, you know, feel free to connect and engage with people and share your insights about what Mike just shared and what Jeremy's sharing here, because it's helpful. And that's part of the community-based platform. You know, that's part of the DAO. So we love having the community be able to share, especially if you're, you know, you're feeling confident to lend a helping hand and help other people understand what's going on. That's really the fostering that I'm excited to see in the new Telegram group, is people sharing stuff like this.
It's our expectation that the Telegram group will evolve into really just being that, you know, being people who are kind of ambassadors for how to use the system and are sharing with others how they're using it, or that they just voted on this, or they, you know, and through that engagement, you're able to build a following on the platform, which will just increase your tips on the next projects that you post. Go ahead, Jeremy.
So that leads actually to how does the voter rank work.
Right.
This is actually the easiest way to make vetter on our platform, is voting. So we've already kind of described how voting on a scout is different than voting on a vetter, and you know, we're encouraging people to vote on scouts, and that's why the monetary amount is currently higher for voting on a scout versus a vetter. But the way that the ranks work with voting is completely different than what I just described for scouts and vetters. The way that you get points for voting is literally voting. So this is one where you'll start at 0 points, and therefore it's yellow. And it'll be yellow until you vote 5 times. Now you can vote 10 times in a 24-hour period, so it's not too hard to get to 10 points. Everybody can do that. And when you have 6 points, you're going to be in beige, and your pay changes when you're beige. So halfway through one day's voting session, you can actually get to beige rank and get paid more for it. You do have to get to 51 points in order to be green, or 85 points to get to purple. And once you get to those levels, the amount that you can earn for doing that does go up.
How many votes would they have to do to get from beige to green?
51 votes.
So
So that's about a day's worth, or I'm sorry, a week's worth.
A week, in about a week, you could get to green. Okay.
Yep. So the only way that you lose points as a voter, the only way your points go down, is if somebody determines that you are not voting appropriately, like we were talking about, which we just described what appropriate voting is. So as long as you're following that guideline, you're going to be fine. But if you are voting inappropriately, and you're saying something like, I didn't think that this project was very good because I lost money.
Right.
Well, if you happen to get in at the top and you sold, you know, after people pulled out, like it, you know, it's not about whether you made money in a project. That's what we're pointing out. It's whether that project was successful in that time frame, not whether you made money. So in that case, had you downvoted that project, somebody else might come back and say, and put a downvote on your vote. And at that point, you will lose 5 points from your rank, up to a maximum of 15 points for any given vote. So you can lose points fairly quickly, but there is a cap on it. And that's to encourage everybody to vote appropriately.
Well, also, not just anybody can downvote, right? That some brand new person doesn't know what's going on, is just playing around, can't downvote your vote. It's somebody who's at a experience level.
Absolutely. So in order to vote in the first place, you have to be a tier 3. And at that point, you can start voting. In order to vote on someone else's vote, you have to personally be a green or purple ranked scout, or a green or purple ranked vetter. And if you're a full vetter, which I don't think we need to describe full versus regular, a full vetter can be beige and they can vote on somebody else's votes. But basically, you have to be a high level ranking in the other 2 categories in order to correct people for mistakes, basically, that they've made, and help them learn.
And that's because a downvote has a big negative impact on your voting score. And so we needed to make sure, and by the way, it was a lot of investment, guys, of time and energy, and dare I say money, in order to set these little details up. So there's a lot of thought behind this to make sure the integrity of the data is there. So I just want to reiterate, because a downvote has such a strong negative impact on somebody's voting rank, and therefore how much they're going to make when they vote, we need to make sure that not just anybody could downvote. So just know that, I mean, Jeremy ran through exactly who it was, but not all of you, are aware enough of what all that meant. Just know that only high-ranking, experienced people can downvote on a vote, and that's to protect people's voting scores and make sure that if somebody's downvoting, it's legitimate.
Yep. I mean, that's all there is to the color coding and how the numbers work for the different ranks.
Awesome.
Hopefully that helps clear up a number of the issues that we've seen coming in, as far as, why did this vote not help me, or why did I post and my score didn't change? We have a lot of those questions. So just watch this video again and play it slow if you need to. And, we did our best to explain it. And like Mike said, we will have some written versions of exactly how this works coming out for everybody as well, and potentially tutorial videos in the future.
Well, for sure, tutorial videos in the future, and we'll continue to evolve those until they're more and more succinct, more and more effective, more and more clear, shorter and shorter, and conveying what needs to be conveyed, and really design them to all of the tutorials to actually engage people in, so they're really, blown away right away, with how much is behind all of this design to make it a highly valuable, high efficacy investor research tool. Phyllis, I just want to check in with you really quick. Any questions, as we ran through a lot there, right? Anything that wasn't clear that you want more clarification on?
No, actually, I was very clear, and I think Jeremy did an awesome job on the clarification and everything. I already, yeah, I think it was very clear to me.
Awesome.
Cool. So another thing on this dashboard that we'll point out, this is just the first one of the items like this is the hot list. So I just wanted to explain really quick the details between which projects show up on this hot list. Right now, we have it set that the only projects that show up on that hot list are coming from somebody who is a purple ranked scout, and it's all in recent chronological order. So at the time that they post it, this will change like every time you come back to this page. It'll say, here's the recent ones, the last 5, hot list. The other way that they can show up here, you'll notice that Unilab is showing up and it has green next to it. If you're a green ranked scout, but you're a purple ranked vetter, then your projects can show up on this hot list. So the interesting thing about, I don't know if we want to talk through like the idea of the advantages of being, ranked purple and green, and how that can actually help long-term on the projects that you're posting, Mike, or do we want to save that for later?
No, definitely. I mean, yeah, go ahead and introduce it.
So the idea is we're eventually going to have the ability to follow certain people. We're going to have the ability to follow projects, so you can, keep track of the dates of those projects, etc. So one of the things that we have planned for the near future is similar to how Mike mentioned earlier, that we're going to provide a direct link to a particular project that has been posted. We're also going to have a direct link to a particular poster, one of the users, either the scouts or the vetters in the system. And over time, we're going to make that a really useful platform that shows projects that they've posted, posts that they've vetted, etc. It shows information about what they've done actively on the platform. So if you spend the time to do the kind of research, and yes, you're getting paid some vetter, but it takes time to research these projects to save everybody else time who's using this project.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who's using the platform is taking advantage of all of those cumulative hours of research that people are putting in to scout and to vet these posts. They can potentially build followings, have a link directly to their projects. If they say they're a YouTuber or, some sort of an influencer and they're posting projects. I mean, just imagine when you have a lot of people who are paying attention because, you've done a great job of getting to green and purple status, and now you have how many more people are going to be, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. How many more people are going to be getting into the projects that you're recommending? How many more people are going to be tipping you for putting that time and effort into the vetting that you're doing, right? So there's a lot more that can be said about that concept, but I just wanted to kind of lay a seed for people to be thinking about, is it worth your time to share, all of that research time that you've put into vetting a project, for example, or putting a post out there?
Yeah, because even though the follow me feature isn't ready yet, it's coming. And in the meantime, people are knowing who you are if you're providing valuable assistance. Like, even when you look over here, I assure you, Dr. X, who just got a 4X and tipped John A, for John A's post about a project that made Dr. X the 4X, Dr. X is going to remember John A. So even though the follow me feature isn't there yet, where Dr. X can click on John A and say, hey, I want to follow him, which soon would mean if I was Dr. X and I did that and I was following John A, John A's posts would, end up over here. He's going to remember John A now because he's providing value to him. So when the follow me feature is ready, it's just going to be that much faster that you're going to have this huge following if you're providing value now, even before that follow me button is there. I also want to point out that in the short run, this hot list is, pretty quickly going to become something that you can manage and control in your profile. So there will be things that you'll be able to indicate in your profile pretty soon to change the kinds of projects or the kinds of people's, the qualifications of scouts and so forth that you want to have their projects show up there. Sorry. So you will have some control soon over what shows up in this hot list. Right now, as Jeremy was saying, it's scout posts at purple or higher, or scouts who are green, who are also as a scout, who are also purple as a vetter will show up here. But again, you'll have more control over this soon.
Right. And I'll just mention in the meantime, because even though there is no follow me, if we go to the calendar real quick, if you type into the search project area, John A.
Nice.
So
if John A, if you see John A's helping people make a lot of money, you can just go like that, or anyone else. Which again, guys, I want to reiterate, in the Telegram group, you start being helpful for people. You help us change the conversation to something productive, like how to do this, and people are going to notice. And they're going to start going there. And, you can even say in the Telegram group, by the way, if you're searching for projects I posted, go ahead and after you've provided value, it would be appropriate. Just don't go in and spam. But if you're providing value, it's okay to, at the end of what you shared, say, hey guys, if you want to search some more of my projects on the calendar, type in John A. Nothing wrong with doing that if you're providing value in there.
So just to follow up on that, so the search project, you can look for a project symbol, you can look for a project name, a project telegram, a project website, the wallet, or a username.
Right.
All of those work to limit what you're looking at on the calendar.
That's awesome. Very cool.
I had no idea about that. That's awesome.
Phyllis, did you just post this 3X?
I did.
Congratulations, Phyllis.
Thank you.
we just thanked Dr. X.
When I actually, it's funny. I said to myself, I didn't even post mine. But when you said DX posted his, I'm like, I forgot to post mine.
But look how cool this is, guys. Like you got Vodka Hawk reporting a 2X, thanking Dr. X, tipping Dr. X 100 vetter. You've got Dr. X again, got a 4X, thanking John A. And you got Phyllis, 3X, thanking Dr. X. It's obvious what this tells me is the people that are using it are clearly consistently getting results. They're getting results by getting tipped vetter for helping others get a 2X, 3X. And the same people, because they're using the darn thing, are also reporting getting the 4Xs and stuff. So clearly, anyone that's consistently using this is, getting some pretty big returns and results and tips. And, it's quite remarkable, really. It's actually working a lot faster and better than I thought I would at this early of a stage. It's really, really, really exciting to see.
And while we're talking about the gains and tips, just so you know, everybody, it is the latest ones, right? So Mike mentioned at some point we may have a link to like a page where you can kind of go through and look at a lot of them. What we don't show is there are a number of people who are tipping others, even if they didn't get a gain on that particular project. Like they might tip a vetter just because they were really happy with the information that they provided. That helped them, decide to get into that project. And even if they don't know what their gain is yet, they tip them. There may be cases where, a gain was listed and for whatever reason, they didn't tip somebody. Those are not showing up. It's only the ones that actually have a gain and a tip that's currently shown up in this list. There will be a lot more details later that you can get into as far as like looking at your own projects, what exactly the votes were, what the gains were, what the tips were. Like we'll be able to detail that all out, but it's going to take time to build those kind of pages.
And Jeremy, will this be able to fairly easily be something like where I could click on this 3x and the project would open up, kind of like this that was reported on?
Yeah, I believe we have that on the list.
Okay, cool.
For the future.
So that way people just kind of see, which project was it and what information did they have that led them to invest in that project that led to the 3x or the 4x.
Right.
And yeah, and then, this is all going to be redesigned from a user interface. So it'll be easier to add a little button here that says see more, and it will just open up and you'll see like a lot more. This is like timestamp. So you're only seeing the last ones, but you don't get to see all the other ones earlier today.
Do you want to go to your profile and share where like the projects go in?
We'll get there in 1 minute. I just
Okay.
wanted to mention something else here, and that is the video vault. So right now, I mean, the video vault is just a link that says coming soon. I just want to let people know that the plan for the video vault is to have something that looks like a Netflix basically, but all the videos will be about, we'll have videos that are the tutorials that we've been talking about. We'll have videos that are mentioning particular networks, how to get wallets and how to participate in things on different networks outside of the BSC. We'll have, strategy videos potentially. There's a lot of different types, different categories of videos that we plan on having in the near future. So yeah, that's why it says coming soon, as we're still building that area out. Just wanted to kind of highlight it because it will be a very important part of this platform as we start bringing more new people into the system and new people using this platform. We really want to provide an educational tool for all of those that are new to crypto, especially.
And I just wanted to point out the Vetter Trading Club. This is probably something that won't be featured on the front page because it only pertains to vetters, which is actually kind of the most committed and smallest group of people that use this platform because it takes a lot of work to be a vetter. So it's actually a small group of people. But this has to do, for those that might be wondering, this has to do with another form of compensation that vetters have access to. And if you are a vetter or you're about ready to move into becoming a vetter, I just wanted to let you guys know that even though you'll see this disappear from the dashboard at some point and be replaced with something that kind of pertains to more people, I will be reaching out to all of the vetters and doing a call with you to talk about the Vetter Trading Club because we're getting ready, to activate that, and really excited about turning that on. So we'll be doing a lot more working closely with the vetters, including updating you on this as we roll out the very first Vetter Trading Club initiative. So just look for that if you're a vetter. We'll be in touch soon.
The last thing to mention while we're on this page is responsiveness. So we mentioned that we're not really focused on how it looks on a mobile device, but just so you know, we have been putting some effort into making it look good on mobile devices as well. So the boxes do move under each other and shrink down now to still give you a useful view, even in a smaller window. So we are putting some effort towards that. We will put even more effort towards that in the near future.
Awesome. Did we cover team stats?
Not fully, no. You want to go ahead and go through?
Yeah, I mean, I've covered this a lot in videos and stuff, and we are going to expand on this greatly, but it's really there to, kind of acknowledge and kind of give a high five to those that are, top performers on the platform. We've got top tippers. So Chipped Up has tipped the most. In total, he's tipped people a total of 12,500 vetter, which is pretty cool and deserves some acknowledgement, for giving back to those that are helping him. And then Top Tip Scout, almost 10,000 vetter that Max DeFi has received from various people. And this informs you a lot when we have the follow me feature. And even before then, you might want to pay attention to what Max DeFi is posting on the calendar, because if he's the top tip scout, then obviously a lot of people are making gains and making profits from his posts. So, I would, if I were you and I saw that, I would copy that. I would come to the calendar and I would search for his projects. And all of these projects are from him, so, what's showing up here can inform you on where you might want to put your research time. And top tipped vetter, same thing. You might want to go see what they vetted on the calendar. If they're the top tip vetter, obviously they're doing a really good job. Top paid scout. So this means, they're most active scout, but if they're purple, which is just showing you, because remember the upper right-hand corner of this circle is purple, then that's someone you definitely want to pay attention to. So, all of these things, top paid voter. So you just know that they're active and we want to acknowledge that. It shows how much vetter they've earned, 74,500 vetter he's earned by voting. So you see that they're a contributor. It means they're really paying attention. They might be helpful with other things that they're doing on the platform as a scout or a vetter, for example. And so this will be expanded. Like, for example, there's probably a lot of people that have been tipped a lot as a scout, besides just Max DeFi. He happens to be at the top right now, but there's probably 10 others that have been tipped a lot that you'd want to know about. So pretty soon you're going to be able to have access to more information than just this. You'll see like all of the top tip scouts, not just one of them. So you can follow them and so forth and see what they're posting, because obviously they're doing a good job at helping people find gains. So that's what that's all about, to kind of acknowledge those that are active in the community, but also focus you as an investor wanting to know who to follow, who's producing results, because obviously this informs you on who's doing that.
That's our leaderboard.
Yeah.
All right. So do you want to switch to profile now?
Sure.
Yeah, I like to go there because sometimes I save projects to move in, when I vet. And I like to see like when my project was approved, that kind of thing. So
yeah, like down here, right? Sure.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share that, because you guys who haven't yet, when you're scouting or vetting, you can save as a draft, because sometimes what I do is I'll start vetting a project and then I want more time because maybe there's an AMA later in the day. So I'll save it as a draft and then I'll kind of do more research, or I'll wait for communication. But I was just wondering, Jeremy, like, is there a timeout? Because I think what I did once was I didn't save it, but I think it saved it on its own. Does it save it on its own if I like go and make dinner and come back 2 hours later and forgot to save it as a draft?
There are ways that it will save automatically. I don't think any of them are based upon a timer, but if you click into a different area, or if you click off the page, I think it's saving it as a draft.
Awesome. Okay, that's really good to
You
know.
go to post and you find out, for example, it'll tell you, oh, by the way, if you post this, you're not going to be able to post it as ranked or get paid as ranked today. Do you want to wait until tomorrow? It will still save it as a draft. And I mean, you're kind of taking a chance to come back tomorrow. Somebody else might have posted it in the meantime, but yeah, it will save it as a draft for you.
Can you edit and make yourself ranked after you say that you don't want to be ranked when you're posting? Like afterwards, can you change that before?
Yeah, if nobody has assumed it, or if you're still in a draft stage, yes, for sure. But even after you post it as unranked, if nobody else has assumed it, you have the ability to assume your own.
Before it launches.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. As long as someone who is ranked didn't come and assume it already.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So the four categories at the bottom, most things start in that kind of draft projects area. So when you first are working on them, if you just save them and you don't post them at all, that's where they're going to be. You have the ability to archive them or to view them and edit them right from the 3-dot menu. So when you open it up, you can click on edit and you can, then try to launch that project if you wanted to. Or you can archive it. And if you archive it, it'll go to rejected projects. If you post the project, then what happens is it'll go to the pending projects area and it'll wait for an admin to approve that project to the calendar or reject it.
Jeremy, I just want to point out that pretty soon, if you've already developed some credibility with the admins by posting several decent projects, decent just meaning, we're not accepting like adult content or anything with cuss words in the name or anything like that. But if you're posting, you're making an attempt to, post legitimate projects that aren't going to be offensive to a certain group of people, then we're going to automate it so that all of your projects will just straight go to the calendar without it showing up here first. But if you're new, they do go to a pending process until the admins know that you're using the platform the way it's intended.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a feature that we're working on now, is the ability to allow auto approving of those who have proven themselves.
Yeah.
In the meantime, though, if it is in a pending status, the admin has the option to approve it or reject it. If they reject it, it goes to the My Rejected Projects. If they approve it, it's going to start showing up on the calendar, and it'll go to My Approved Projects. The other thing that's, go ahead.
I was just going to say there's going to be a lot built into the profile as well that's coming. Like, for example, we talked about the follow me feature and all kinds of things. It's going to be built into the profile section where you can manage a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We have a lot of plans for different reports, different details and information you're going to be able to glean from your various projects from here. You can search through the projects, if you have a whole bunch of them, if you've been vetting a lot of projects, the search does help you narrow down the list to find certain ones.
Yeah.
The other thing sorry, go ahead.
Oh, in the calendar, I use the search a lot. Like I'll search for projects sometimes, like if someone brings up, oh, hey, I heard about this project. Is it vetted by you guys? And I'll search. And if it's not vetted, it's like, ooh, it gives me an opportunity to vet.
What Jeremy was referring to here, though, is like, let's say you've posted over 105 projects.
Got it. Yeah.
And one of them is like a draft, you need to find your
Right.
draft, and it's like buried 5 down, and you can just search for it and find it really quick.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And the other thing you'll notice is at the top, that black bar at the top, that gives you information about your wallet status. In this case, Mike has a few extra things that most people won't see, but if you're a vetter, it'll show that you are a vetter in the system. It'll show what tier you are. It'll show how many tokens you're holding. It's not for everybody, but if you were part of the stabilizer, if you don't know what that is, ignore me. If you do, then you know what I'm talking about. It'll show up here in that bar that you're still part of the stabilizer and how much that you'll get. And we also have the ability to edit your profile. So if you click on that button, this is where it initially defaults to just a few letters of your wallet. So you'd have to click in that username field and change it to whatever you want. That's how Phyllis and John and everybody else have set their username.
Strongly encourage you guys to do that if you do want to build a following and start to have that recognition, so that the following can grow. Because, like, for example, this is a lot easier to remember what Phyllis put here than just a wallet address. So really encourage you guys to, if you haven't done so already, to go to your profile, edit profile, and change this so it's not just the first and last digits of your wallet address, but it's actually an identifiable username.
Yeah, so if you want to go ahead and change that to something, Mike, or do you not want to? It's okay if you don't.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I might have to enter more information in.
Now everyone knows who you are, though. Mine's an incognito name.
That's all I got to do, right?
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. So I just wanted to mention, so the email, phone, and Discord are optional. We will want to have the additional details if you're a vetter, but for anybody else, the only ones that you really need to worry about are username, and it has to be unique, and it has to be, I think, at least 5 characters. So once you have a particular username, nobody else is going to be able to come in and see the same one. And you'll notice the avatar he picked was K0. So now on his profile picture, it shows, K0. So you can pick what, 2 letters you want to represent you and your avatar. And then the last piece was the check mark that said, hey, I understand the terms. And you have to check that in order to save your profile. Once you've done it, it remembers that you've done it.
Awesome.
So again, we'll have a lot more coming on this profile, but that's the main thing right now. Is it's the quickest way to determine, what tier does the system consider you, et cetera. It's all right there.
So Jeremy, will this also be where they manage projects they want to follow more, beyond what you'd get just over here in the hot list? Because obviously the hot list is very limited, but will the profile also be where, if, for example, they're wanting to follow, I know this is a little ways down the road, but like when we start having where the TA guys can post technical analysis on a project, for example, and if they wanted to like follow, when information like that's posted, will this be where they manage that? Or would it be a completely different section, you think?
Yeah, exactly. You'll basically scroll down and there'll be a number of different tabs, or there's different ways that we can arrange the information to make it easy to find.
Very cool.
Really cool. Awesome.
So all that's really left to go through is a little bit more details about the calendar itself. So on the dashboard, obviously you see the calendar, and really all it does is it's a click through to this page, right? So Mike mentioned we might put more functionality there in the future, but really the main functionality is here on the calendar. So let's kind of go through what everything is. We'll start with the top left, which is the different networks. So right now, we're trying to focus on the BSC at the moment, but the intention is to allow any network. Right now, BSC is the only option that's selectable there. Eventually, you'll be able to, select more and see projects on other networks as well. So right now, that's not real exciting because it's locked into just the BSC. So let's move on to the next one. The next one is event type. So what this is the ability to kind of filter what you're seeing on the calendar to particular types of projects. So an IDO, for example, is a project that is launching on a launch pad. A fair launch is a type of project that is supposed to just go right to being released to the world on a particular day. The private or pre-sale type, which by the way, we are in the process of breaking those out so you can filter the calendar and look at just those that have just the dates of projects that are in private sale, or just the dates of the projects that are in pre-sale. If you pick either one of those, then a given project may show up on the calendar more than once, and that represents that there are different dates associated with that particular project. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's a duplicate project.
Right.
So if you do see the same project listed more than once, it may just be because there are multiple dates on that project.
Right.
But we are going to put this filter in place to be able to say, just show me the dates of the projects that are for the private sale, or just the dates for the pre-sale, et cetera. So these will evolve over time, and this will just keep getting better and better.
Yeah.
The category is you're looking at whatever the Scout has designated as the category. So they kind of get to pick, like in their opinion, it's a utility, or in their opinion, it's one of the others, or even unknown, or like an other category. So it's to try to help and say, if I really care about NFTs, for example, I can select NFT, and hopefully now I get a list of the projects that are really focused on NFTs, right? The next one is the Launchpad. Launchpad is important to many people because there are certain launchpads that require you to hold tokens. So for example, BSC pad, you have to hold some of their tokens in order to use their launchpad. So if you don't want to look at projects that are like that, and you just want to look at ones that are available for anybody to use, then you might pick, a known launchpad that you're used to. Like you might say, I only want to look at projects that are on DX sale, or Unicrypt, or whatever the case may be. So that's what that's there for, is to filter the projects down to certain launch pads.
Sorry, Jeremy, I'm just noticing I clicked NFT and nothing changed. Is that, am I supposed to click this little arrow here?
The refresh, you shouldn't have to. It should automatically limit it. So it may be that in this current iteration that category flag is broken.
Let me check a couple more. I think maybe I have to just refresh. It might be because I have the Zoom going. I don't know. It might be on my end, actually. Are you able to see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just refresh the browser.
Right. I just want to, because I've never, yeah, you always worked for me. So I just want to make sure I'm,
I think because you changed your name and didn't provide your passcode again.
maybe. Let's see.
So it's asking, for new information.
There we go. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was, because you changed your passcode.
So I should just point out, like, yeah, if there may be times where if you don't see it reacting, you might just need to hit refresh and, and log back in. I don't know what caused that. I've not seen that for a long time, but just want to
I
point
think
that out.
because you changed your name, so it recognized it differently.
Could
That's
be.
my
Okay. So
my intuitive
back to
oracle.
launch pads.
So as a general rule, refreshing the page can solve a lot of problems.
Yeah. But by the way, I do want to point out that it is extremely important, and we're going to be stricter about this going down the road, that if it is an IDO and you're a scout, you definitely want to select IDO. And what that would mean is, and that would be, when you're adding the project, you're going to want to indicate if it's an IDO. An IDO means, like, if it's on BSC pad. I know not everybody who's new will follow what I'm saying, but many of you will. If it's on a launch pad that requires you to hold their token in order to participate, you want to say that here, because not everybody wants to search for projects or research projects that require you to hold the token. And others don't mind. Others know that there's some advantages to those, and some don't want to. So just make sure that you're entering that in correctly when you're a scout and you're loading a project, that if it is a platform that requires that you hold tokens in order to participate, you would indicate that's an IDO. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Okay. So yeah, we went over Launchpad already. That's basically just saying I only care about a particular Launchpad because you might really have a favorite.
Or just be familiar with it, right? Like, a lot of you are really familiar with Pink Cell. So if you want to stick with what you're used to, you would choose Pink Cell. And then of course you've got these other categories that you can identify, and he's going to move into the rank right now. We kind of covered rank, but.
Yep. And then rank, it says yellow plus, purple plus, etc. for a reason. We're actually, it looks like we haven't released. Sometimes it's hard for me because I know what's in our test system versus what's here. We have rearranged the ranks to put purple at the top, and that way it's kind of like a highest to lowest type of a thing. But yellow just means that it's people who are still new. So, yellow and above is basically showing pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Other than unranked. So if you go back and pick rank, which means nothing is selected, you'll now see that the gray ones will come back onto the calendar. So by saying yellow plus, you're just basically indicating I only care about ranked projects.
Yeah.
When you go to red plus, then that's going to be ranked projects that are red or above. And if you get up to green plus, it's either green or purple, and purple plus just means right now purple only.
I just want to point out, in case it's just not obvious to everybody, if I want to see purple only, like the highest ranking, on the Pink Cell Launchpad, then I choose those two things, and that's all that's going to show here. Like, you notice that it changes, right? Like, if I go to Launchpad, it's showing everything that's posted by a purple. You see a lot more. So it's pretty awesome. How you can, and a lot it has, for some people it's just not obvious, because I see people writing things like, there's 54 projects. How am I supposed to have time to research all of those? It's like, well, the point of this tool is you don't have to research all of those. It's a one-stop shop for those that might run large Telegram groups or whatever, to be able to come here and just be able to visit this and see everything that's here in a day, to do their own maybe sorting process. But for those that are individual investors that want to save time, you don't have to research all 54, or actually it's like 58 projects on Wednesday the 1st. You could just choose, green and above that are on a launch pad you're familiar with, like DXL, and that really narrows your search. Now you've got one on Wednesday, and that's the power of the tool.
I just want to make a little nuance, if I may, really fast, is, purple isn't just a color. When you consider the Discord community of Tribe 100X, the reason why these people are purple is because they have additional insights and criteria and awarenesses. It's not just an opinion, so personally, when I look at projects, I may consider someone who's gray or green or yellow, as well as purple. I may not discount it when choosing projects, because I know what I'm looking for because of what I've learned and what I've been sharing in the Discord over the many months. Because it's not just like an opinion. And so one of the things that I'll be sharing more in the future is just like how to understand people who are posting based on opinions versus like, you can read someone's vetting and kind of understand that maybe they like the project and you can kind of tell, or they're just copy and pasting things versus another vetter who's likely purple, who's sharing with you something that's maybe unbiased, not their opinion, but they're like really doing the research. So I just wanted to make that clear. I will be doing some videos sharing kind of the difference between someone vetting for an opinion because they may like it, or their friend gave them a bunch of free white listed spots, versus someone who's purple, likely who, is really doing a stellar job being unbiased, sharing things in a neutral space. So that's
I just want to point out, though, the tool makes it simple, because if they're purple, it means the crowdsourced information has indicated that they're doing a great job. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, and it saves you time. A lot of the vetter investors will share with me that it saves them just hundreds of hours of time trying to sit in other groups and listen to AMAs, and just wasted time. Whereas in here, they can save tons of time and get better results, and actually find projects that they feel comfortable with, and know projects that they don't feel comfortable with really quickly. So as we share a lot in our marketing materials, it really does save you a lot of time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Jeremy, jump into Oracle.
So I'll just mention also that some of these might not be there if you're not at the appropriate tier. If you can't see colors, there's no point in having color as a filter.
Right.
And the Oracle as well is based upon colors. So you have to be tier 3 to see a couple of these filters. So now we're on to it's called the Oracle, the Intuitive Oracle, for a reason. And we've kind of already touched on what exactly it is, but the point is being able to find projects so the projects are all the projects that are currently already on the calendar based upon all your other criteria. But when you change to one of these categories, it's saying instead of using the person who posted it, instead of using their pay level, use their rank based upon that duration. So you can quickly find the projects that are most likely to be successful in the duration that you choose in the Oracle.
And again, at the time of this recording, December 7th, for those listening to the replay, not enough, this hasn't been launched long enough for a lot of the voting for the longer durations to have taken effect. You see that the votes on 24-hour duration there's plenty of greens that have been posted that have had lots of voting, lots of a historic track record of votes, indicating that whoever posted these that we see on the calendar right now, did a good job in terms of those projects were successful and helped them make gains in a 24-hour period. But if I go to 30 days, you're not going to see anything come up, because we haven't been open long enough for the voting on a 30-day duration to have impacted the scores yet. But that will be coming as this is opened longer.
Yeah, time is our friend. More data, more data to be distributed. Yeah, a lot of people that are investors come and they share that they don't want to be hassled with a 24-hour project, so they're really excited about the 30-day, and to be able to trust the vetters in the community and people voting.
Again, it's kind of a trustless process. I got to keep coming back to the tool is very specific in how it's coming up with these scores, which are based on a proven track record, a historic track record. But it isn't telling you what to invest into, or that you even should invest in crypto at all. It's just simply saving you massive time to be able to, do a search filter based on your investment preferences, and just help you pinpoint, projects that are aligned with your goals. But it's saving you time. It's not telling you to invest into them. And it's factually based. Like, this is what people have indicated. A large crowd over time have consistently indicated that create these scores. It's pretty
Data driven. Yeah.
My 1.2 is, that's why the voting is so important, because everything comes back to the voting.
Yeah.
So this wouldn't give you valid information if people are just voting to vote. And that's, that's really, you need to be really, I want to be really clear on that, because it's only as good as how good we are at voting. So how honest we are at voting as well.
You're going to notice that if you get to rank of purple right now, and these amounts can change depending on what we're seeing the crowd do, but right now, because we want high integrity data, if somebody gets to the rank of purple as a voter, you get paid a lot of vetter. What is it? Pretty soon we'll break this down more clearly on the dashboard. This shows you what you can make in a 24-hour period voting on, these are scout posts, and you can see it pays a lot more. What is it per post? Is it, Jeremy, that it's paying? If you happen to recall off the top of your head?
Yeah, so voting on a scout is 3,000 at
Yeah.
purple per.
Okay, yeah, so 3,000, you could do 5 a day, every day. So 3,000 vetter for a total of 15,000 vetter you can make voting on scout posts. And you can make pretty good, vetter voting on vetter posts. But the reason why it's so much higher on this is for exactly what Phyllis was saying, because we want to encourage good voting and pay a lot for good voting to start filling in this intuitive oracle. So you could, if your investment preferences are to invest in things that perform well in a 30-day period, you can start just searching for green and higher in a 30-day period. It takes voting for this to get populated. And again, as time goes on and we're here longer, that's going to get populated. But yeah, as Phyllis is saying, the voting is extremely important. And that's why we pay so much for people at the higher ranks as a voter, especially voting on scout posts.
And I will mention as well, just because you don't get paid for a vote, you can continue voting and upping your score.
Meaning after you do 5 votes in a day, you
Yep.
might have maxed out, how much you can make in a day if you've already made 15,000 vetter today because you voted 5 times on scout post. Jeremy's saying you can keep voting and contribute to the value. You just wouldn't get paid that day till the next 24-hour period.
Right. So the last filter on the calendar is the advanced filter. It's a new one that just got added recently. We still have plans for additional fields that we want to make available here. For example, those who want to do vetting might want to see projects that have not been vetted yet, whereas somebody who wants to see just projects that have been vetted because they're looking for the research information, they could pick vetted projects only. So we will have additional options here over time, but right now these are the 4 that we have. The first one is vetted projects. So that will filter out on the calendar. It'll take out any projects that no one has vetted yet. The ready to launch is basically saying, hey, here's some projects that are past the time that they should have been launched and they have not had the smart contract added to them yet. So certain people are able to go back and add the smart contract to the project, not just the person who posted it. Because you can imagine if somebody posts a project and it didn't do real well, they might not want to launch it because they don't want to get a bunch of downloads.
And by the way, Jeremy, would you agree that at some point we might want to put together a coalition to go in and downvote scouted projects that are ranked that didn't launch their post if a lot of time has passed by?
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah. There's things that we're going to do to make sure people, make the data high integrity. So for example, if you're a scout and your project is launched, but you don't come back and launch it to indicate, hey, it's launched, and a couple of weeks goes by where you've had plenty of time to do that, we might go in and downvote that project, which would affect your score, because you really should be going back there and being a good steward of your post and launch that project so people can vote on it. But we'll inform you as we do those things. There's a lot we're going to do to continually make this higher and higher efficacy information.
and like I mentioned, so it can be the original poster, it can be somebody who vetted the project, and certain high level, high ranked individuals can also go and launch those projects just to make sure that they get launched and people can vote on them. The has launched filter is saying, here's the ones that are available for you to go vote on right now.
Mhm.
So that's really handy.
Yeah, so you can get paid, remember we showed you earlier, you get paid the most for voting on scout posts. This is how you go find those. You go to advance, you click has launched, and you can vote on these projects. And that's where you can earn right now, if you're at the rank of purple voter, you get paid 15,000 vetter a day. It's not chump change. It's a pretty good amount.
Yeah, just for the scouts, and you also get more for voting on the vetters. So I think we figured out at one point, I don't know what it is today, but it was like $80 a day just for voting.
Yeah. Again, that can change over time, but right now, and then imagine when it 10x's, that's $800 a day that you made.
Exactly.
Again, I know most still don't understand. That was the purpose of today's call, just to get us started. Most still don't understand how much money can be made here. It's crazy.
And then the last one is has a wait list. That was one of the popular requests people made, was I want to see the ones that do have a white list that are on the calendar, so that I know, even though it's further out on the calendar, I may have to do something in order to be on their white list. So I want to start looking at those projects ahead of time.
Awesome. Very, very cool.
And then the last piece is near the top. You have month, week, day list on the right hand side. I just want to make sure people are aware of this, but that the list view works really well on a phone. So it's kind of just listed out by the time of the day, and you can go between different days and weeks in this format.
Awesome. Also, sometimes there's projects that are launching and there's no date associated with it yet. If you're a scout and you're posting a project and you don't indicate a date, obviously it can't end up on the calendar. We often do accept those, but the only place it's going to show up is in your approved projects. No one else is going to see it till you come back here and edit in a date as soon as one is known. So if you're a scout and you posted a project without a date and then it's approved, just remember it's here. And when you are following the Telegram for that project or whatever, and you find out what the date of the pre-sale or the launch is, you'll want to come back and edit that. Otherwise, it will never show up in the calendar because there's no date associated with it yet. In the near future, we might have a list where you can see, where people can see those if they want to, but obviously it wouldn't be on the calendar if there's no date.
Actually, if you want to switch back there real quick, Mike, on the profile, there's something else I didn't point out that it's helpful to know. So you'll notice there's little icons and little words on each of those projects. It's really helpful for you to know that. So can you see on your test project in your draft, it says SD? That SD indicates that on that project, you are the scout and it's in draft mode. If you're the vetter, it would have a V. If you assumed the project, it would have an A. Once you get it into your approved projects and you launch it, then the little rocket ship will turn white instead of gray. All right. So there are indicators so that you can quickly go and find, oh man, I didn't launch this project yet.
Yeah, we're probably about ready to cover this, right? But you moved kind of quickly there that these little icons actually mean something. The little rocket ship, if it's gray, means it's not launched yet, meaning it's something that was posted, but nobody can vote on it yet. And then this little certificate means it was posted. If it's gray, it means it was unranked. If it's white, it means it was ranked. Lots of little icons. You'll get used to that over time and learn what everything is. But I wanted to reiterate that.
Yep. So now all that's really left to talk about is the process of posting, vetting, and voting and tipping. So kind of go through what the different fields are. How detailed do you want to get on that, Mike?
Honestly, I wouldn't mind if we earmarked the rest of this for a separate session, unless you and Robin want to override that. I mean,
that's what I was thinking, is we're getting kind of long.
Yeah, I'm good.
I say we announce another date where we'll go over the ad project. Of course, I have videos on this, but I'd like Jeremy to go over it with us because he gives a more detailed, a slightly more technical and extremely helpful, review on this stuff. And we can dive into some of the nuances. So I think we'll cover that in a separate call. And then
I
also
think this one was really focused on just showing people how it works in general. There's a smaller audience that cares about all of the fields and how to scout, how to vet, etc.
right. Though I will say, you know, I think that the next call will be super important for people to kind of learn what all of the details are here, right? Like how, because you can get really fast at being able to assess these projects and save massive time identifying the next 10x, 100x when you know what's here and why it's here and what's going on in every detail. So, you know, again, there's the scout and then there's the vetter, and that's different. The vetter's down here under vetter information, a lot more deeper dive information, and you got the votes. So anyway, we'll cover this in a separate session. Jeremy, thank you for taking the time to go through
Yeah,
this
really well
in
done.
detail. And guys, you know, our hearts and souls are poured into this project. We're going to continue to make it better and better. We just have no doubt that this is incredibly valuable as a research tool. It's just a matter of now, there's so much packed into it. It's just a matter of having a fast way for people to land here who don't really know what's going on, you know, to land on the dashboard and, you know, and via a video that would be right here and little tutorial links and everything that are strategically placed everywhere to immediately get their attention, show them the value of it, and be able to guide them to know exactly how to use everything and why it is there and what it is and why it's valuable, you know, so they can start getting 4Xs and 7Xs and, you know, join this gains list. And again, as you can see, look at Dr. X. He's everywhere here. What's that tell you? What, he's on this side too, getting a 4X. And that was all just within the last few hours. These are just the recent ones. What's that tell you? It tells you that those that know how to use this are getting gains, and they're getting tips for helping other people get gains. So our job now is just to make sure everybody knows how to use this, and to, you know, it's easier said than done. We built so much into this. It clearly works. You know what I mean? It clearly works. So now our job is to make it super simple for anybody who knows nothing about it to land here and quickly understand how valuable it is and how to use it. So that's our next step.
And we will be improving we're working with a super badass, talented designer graphic wise. So it will be changing in form and visual components as we move forward.
The next user interface will be awesome. Again, thanks everybody. We'll now, oh, by the way, the AMA is tomorrow. So questions and answers.
In the new Telegram group.
Ask us
3 p.m. Eastern.
Ask us anything, new Telegram group. If you don't know how to get into the new Telegram group, go to the old one and there'll be a link that guides you in. If you already submitted the form to get into the new Telegram group, but some of you had our VA reached out to you to get you in and you thought maybe he was a scammer. So some of you having trouble figuring out how to get in there. I totally understand. Just fill out the form again. And now when you answer the question, it will immediately give you a link that will take you into the new group. So we just remove that intermediary step. And now what's going to happen is people can just get in there, and then we're having our staff go through and see how people answered the question to make sure that you guys know how not to get scammed in social media groups. And if somebody didn't answer clearly, then we'll mute your account and connect with you then to make sure you do know how not to get scammed. But that way people don't have to wait before getting into the new group. So anyway, tomorrow noon Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern, 8 p.m. UTC, we'll have our AMA in the support Telegram group. And we'll have another call that we'll announce where we'll go over more detail of, you know, how to add a project and what all of this means, how to vet a project. And then if you're just using the platform as an investor, using it as a research tool, what all of this means. Because if you know how to use it, clearly you can get some great gains, as we're seeing reported here in this gain section every day. And this is just the most recent ones. There's been lots more reported today. So pretty exciting. It's definitely working. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. I know it's long, but we got to start somewhere and getting as many people as we can knowing how to use it. And then we'll work at making this introduction and the tutorials and the speed at which somebody can land here and get it, you know, making that simpler and faster and faster. And that's what we're going to do next. Thanks again, Jeremy. Thanks, Robin. And we'll see you guys soon. See you tomorrow if you can make it.
Ciao.
Bye-bye, everybody.